What is happening, everybody? I hope you've had a good...
Back in like 2005, something like that.
I think my first con was so good. It's Friday Junior.
It's Friday, Junior. It's podcast day. It's payday.
And if you come out, do it electrically. Doesn't matter how you feel about the situation.
My name is Raph. We're always start the podcast because we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about music and just share those stories and experience. This is my co-host, Carl, a.k.a. The Beer Buddy. He is hailing you.
This sort of weird era where they're sort of right in that post-grunge.
Look, you're fighting the good fight in today's world. My war was fought 40 years ago, really.
We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here. Hey, I'm too quick on that air horn button, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, that is amazing. I love it. Your second of it, dude. Fantastic.
What is going on, everybody? It is the Reverend Raph here with my good friend Kyle, aka the Beer Buddy.
Hey, God.
And we are here on another Thursday for another podcast episode. Oh my goodness, hit it, do it. There you go.
Cheers.
There you go. Cheers. Oh, I've only got the water today. I'm doing, trying to be good.
Fishes have sex in that and poo in it. I don't know if you know that. Probably shouldn't be drinking that.
That's why I drink it, mate.
For all the seaman.
Yeah, all the whale jizz.
What a way to start.
Yeah, no, what a way to start. Oh my God, this is already off the rails. How you doing, mate? How you doing?
Oh, I'm so fantastic. We had Maruthan on last week. That was pretty fucking mental in itself.
I'm sorry, I've literally just seen that Alien Ant Farm dropped a new album. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm gonna have to go check that one out.
Oh, wow.
Maybe we'll do a reaction to one of the
review,
songs.
yeah.
For the thing. But yes, no, it's been good. It's been good, mate. Just going on, planning some up, renos to the house, that sort of business. But,
Yeah, man. I'm digging that shirt.
This one, yeah, this is all right. I picked this up. Actually,
I
picked
like
this
it.
up
It's very
last
like
year.
fitting for this evening.
Well, I picked it up last year when I was in the States. Actually, it was. I went just to try and do some thrifting, to try and find a jacket for when I was in the snowier climes. Didn't end up finding anything, but it was literally like shitloads of t-shirts for about $2 each, $2 or $3 each. So I just went through the rack, found a bunch that in 2 or 3X, and didn't try them on, just bought them all, and yeah.
I really dig that shirt.
Like
I really
10,
do.
it was something like 10 or 12 t-shirts for about $30.
Man, American thrifting.
Yeah, it's
You're
wild.
gonna do it. That's
Wild.
mad.
So I got some cool ones out of that, but yeah, look, let's dive into it. So this week's guest, they actually reached out to us in the wake of another episode that we had done, which was really, really cool, and we really very much appreciate that. They just reached out and said, hey, this is who we are. We got some new stuff coming out. We checked it out. We were really, really into it, and so we thought, why not get them on? So with us today, we have Adrian from Vault Hill.
Hey, go on, bud.
Yeah, good boys. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Good. Happy to have you on.
Good, yes.
Cheers for having us on.
Thank you for reaching out. As I said, we appreciate your kind words in the email, and as I said, I really liked what you guys sent through to us, the songs you sent through. I was like, I absolutely can get down with this. Not just the songs themselves, but also some of the messaging behind that stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, cheers.
You guys like to put a bit of a message behind the music, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, thank you very, very much, as I said, for joining us. And so you are from Vault Hill, is the name of the band?
So play guitars in the Vault Hill.
You play guitars, okay? And what can you tell us about Vault Hill for the people that may not be familiar with the band?
Yeah. Metal band from Melbourne. We sort of like to mix sort of thrash with a bit sort of metal, metalcore, modern metal. So throwing a few other things in there as well, like a little bit of death metal, a little bit of grunge as well.
Definitely get that new metal bounce there too.
Yeah, like we dig a bit of that groove as well. So and just everything from the scene around us as well. Like see some bands we dig. Like recently, bands like Identity Era, Dead by 80, that sort of like hardcore vibe. So really digging that. So trying to bring that into some of our newer stuff as well.
Yeah, nice.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. I like when bands aren't afraid to incorporate lots of little pieces of all different stuff, right? Like it's, there's it, it's nice to want to do like kind of stay strict in a genre, but also to
Mm,
be open to, all those other little influences, especially from, other metal subgenres that maybe in the past would have been considered like in competition or like counter to that genre.
yeah.
Like I have to, like, obviously, like thrash when it came about in the 80s, everyone, the transition out of that into into grunge and later into new metal and stuff like that. Like at the time, there was obviously a lot of pushback from the thrash scene. They were like, no, that's crap, that's whatever.
That's
But
it.
it's nice to see people sort of coming around to it now. It's like able to incorporate the stuff and just go like, yeah, I like that too. Like I'm allowed to like different stuff, and
Yeah.
folding that into what you're doing is always, keeps it interesting, right?
That's it. That's it. Helps you sort of try and make something new as well.
Yeah.
It's probably not something that we intentionally did. I think it's just four guys that sort of have various different musical influences,
Mm.
and when we write, they sort of just come through.
Yeah.
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 So it's a
That's
sort of a bit of a natural.
Best
awesome.
way to do it. You don't want to be hanging like as much as it is fun to have that common ground with everyone in the band and stuff like that. It does make it real
Mm.
fucking fun when you get to sort of bounce those real obscure ideas off each other when you're thinking differently in different genres or different what you're listening to at the time.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Definitely.
everyone's listening to the same thing, so it's just going to come out the same.
That's it. That's it. Or you sort of end up trying to clone, like the in sound or something like that. And then it just sort of makes it seem a bit stagnant. So if you can be a little bit different, and if it's something genuine as well, that way you're gonna play it better, more energy, and you're gonna enjoy it more. So
Mm.
yeah.
When did the band
Definitely.
start?
So actually, technically, it's me and my brother's band from high school.
Okay.
So yeah, we reformed when we all sort of moved up to Melbourne, and then yeah, we actually sort of kicked our original drummer out. We thought we're in Melbourne. How hard's it going to be to find a drummer? And then we looked for like 10 years.
Yeah, rocking horse shit. They're good drummers, rocking horse shit.
That's it. That's it. And they're all in like sort of 4 or 5 different bands. And then, you find someone and then one of their bands gets big and you're like, oh, and then they're out. And then there's almost a bit of musical chairs as well. Would find a drummer and then someone else would leave and would find them. The drummer would be out. And yeah.
It's like
So,
Spinal Tap.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. And yeah, so we sort of took us ages to find a drummer, went through a few session drummers, and then eventually met Frankie, a current drummer. And then that's when we put the EP together and yeah, dropped that in 2022. And yeah, and then just been trying to roll ever since then.
That's it. The time is now at the moment. I mean, as much as it pains us to say about live venues closing left, right, and centre,
Mm,
I guess, when you do think about it, does sort of force everyone to go to the other places. So eventually, like, people are going to have to either, A, you're going to have to start waking up and going to fucking shows because you can't be complaining about this shit and then not be going to shows and then wondering why your fucking favourite venue closes because you've only been there twice in the last year.
exactly. Yeah.
That's a fucking big one. Like the fact that the zoo's gone down. That is
Yeah, yeah. Sad news.
fucking.
Sad news there. Unfortunately, such an iconic venue up here in Brisbane.
Mm,
32 years, something like that. They've been operating, and it's really shocked everybody. I know
yeah.
that, and the irony being that I think they said that the last year there was like their most successful year in terms of like tickets sold for events, and the fact that they can have that and still not be turning enough profit to continue on is insane. Operating
Yeah.
price bad.
But
I
you know
mean,
what the thing that pissed me off about that whole thing? How many reposts were there? For all
there was
those people that fucking reposted actually went to the shows, this shit wouldn't be happening.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree. And
Exactly.
look, as much as that is a factor, I think the key, what, like, yes, people should be going out to shows and supporting them. Absolutely. I think something else to consider though is that while we often look at, the cost of living going up for everyone, and rental, we think about rental prices going up in terms of people having somewhere to live. It's not just that. It's, commercial rental prices are going
Yeah.
sky high. And a lot of these venues, they don't own the buildings that they're operating in. They lease there. And when you're getting, butt fucked on the rent, that's
Taxes
a
on your
huge operating
alcohol,
cost. On all the taxes
Exactly.
on alcohol, the operating stuff, the requirement, the insurance stuff
insurance.
is going up like crazy. The requirements for having security and the costs of running shows, and obviously all the bands wanting to all the bands are trying to get paid at least something, and the promoters are trying to come in, and everyone's trying to get their piece of the pie, and it's like when the punters who are struggling with increased cost of living just as much, it really is like a fact of where the government does need to step in. So there's a petition going around
Oh,
in the wake
definitely.
of this, for that's calling on governments to, like, state governments and federal governments, to buy spaces and provide like these art and performance spaces for you know art in general, and music across all spectrums. You
I think
know,
it's a great idea. Similar
it's
to like state-owned art galleries, the music scene needs it, and yeah,
yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think that having performance spaces like that would benefit, as long as they were open to a range of styles and didn't just go, oh, like, because this is what we
exactly.
know. Like, we know that when it comes to funding, government funding and support of music, it's generally limited to, well, certain genres are considered off limits for it. Quite often, rock and metal, like more heavier rock and metal, tends to get overlooked in that regard.
Mm.
You may get
Especially
like,
extreme metal as well. Yeah.
yeah, you may get like hip hop and rap events supported, because obviously that's considered to be more popular with the youth, and so they're trying to engage the kids with it. Or you might get more traditional styles of music supported, like maybe jazz and stuff like that, because that's considered to be classier and more art in terms of music. Um,
Yeah.
so as long as these spaces were open to all genres, I think then it's yeah, it'd be really beneficial for something
That
like that to go through.
that does sort of hit a bit different when we're sort of like anti-establishment, but then we're asking the establishment to fund the fucking cause.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
No. When I say I'm anti-establishment, I'm not anti any establishment. I'm anti the current establishment that's not fucking doing their job.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
I'm
anti
I'm
getting fucked
anti,
around.
I'm anti establishment when the establishment isn't using, the taxes that we pay to do the things they're supposed to do with it.
Yeah.
When they're
No, it's
using those
completely
taxes
agreed.
to buy fucking,
To
$5
do
billion
to
submarines and
and land grabs so they can
and like
change that and change
and
zonings
do
and then build train stations and fucking all the
yeah,
shifty shit they're doing in Sydney at the moment.
like also
That's it. All the tax incentives for like property developers, and that makes the rental
and
situation
when they're
worse. And
yeah, and when they're giving money to people with COVID loans, and it's going to big businesses that are already making record profits, and then when it's like, oh, hey, you didn't actually need this loan, the companies don't have to pay it back.
No, yeah.
yeah,
But we do.
that's it. It's
Yeah,
just all
yeah,
the big boys looking after each other.
yeah. If you're
Yeah.
$500 behind, if you got a tax debt of $500, God forbid you don't pay that. But when the billionaires are
Yeah.
out there dodging fucking tax left, right, and center, there's nothing to be done with it.
No, but that's it. But that's when it comes down to government to get rid of the loopholes. I think Kerry Packer said it best. It's like it's not up to me. I pay someone to look through your books and find loopholes, fix your loopholes, and he won't be able to look through your books and find the loopholes. It's as simple as
Yes.
that.
At the same time, though, I think there's a moral argument to be made. Well,
Oh,
he can sit
100%.
there and say
Oh,
and say,
definitely.
yes, everything I'm doing is legal. Like, if you don't want me to do it, make it illegal. Like, fair enough, but have a fucking conscience.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he's not going when he's sleeping in $100 bill lined pillows and.
Anyway, hardcore. This concludes the hardcore anarchist portion of the podcast. Um,
Burn the
I mean, the plus,
motherfucker down. Burn it
or
down.
does it?
the plus
Because
side, it gives bands like us, great stuff to write about. So
yeah, well, that's it. I mean, and you guys obviously released a song not too long ago called "Break the Silence," and you dropped the video for that.
yeah,
And that is from a bit of a political bent.
it is. It is. Yeah, yeah. And but we actually did talk about the global financial crisis and sort of a lot of those corporations getting involved with government and purposely not fixing loopholes and yeah, and it's usually the little guys like us that suffer. So yeah,
Because we literally can't afford to pay the people to find those loopholes for us, and that's what it comes down to the bottom line to.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. It was really promising here though in Melbourne in the local scene when the scene sort of got and rallied behind the Tote Hotel and saved the Tote. That
Yes.
was really beautiful to see.
Yeah. That was
And then
awesome.
unfortunately we had the Bendigo that's just closed down. And I just don't think the scene really had it in it to save that so soon after, And again, they sort of came out and they called out the insurance companies that had sort of really increased the running costs and made it just impossible. So
Man, it's disgusting, and they're making money hand over fist. I mean, we
and record profits, it's nuts.
oh, dude, it's like what's going on with Woolworths and Coles at the moment. How can you say there's competition when you own nearly 70% of the market?
Exactly, exactly.
And then the insurance companies are the same. It's like what a lot of people don't seem to understand is that like there's only really 3 or 4 insurance companies in the country. They just have little brothers and sister companies that they subset off into smaller
That's it.
companies for tax purposes, and they make it look like there's competition, but it's all under the same umbrella.
That's it. That's it. We're meant to have these anti-monopoly rules, but again, it's all
Oh,
designed that way to
man,
get holes and yeah. And it's
this competition watchdog that they say that we have in Australia is merely some little Pomeranian puppy.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not until people, speak up against it or, investigative journalists really sort of like look into it and expose it that anything will happen about it,
But then we have
We need that
whistleblower. We have whistleblower fucking laws in Australia. You get arrested if you open your mouth.
Well, that's it. That's it. It's almost impossible to call them out or to break any silence. I mean, look what's happening with Julian Assange at the moment as well. I mean, that's been happening for 20 years, So it's just
all over a couple of what was it? Why was all this Coca-Cola going to Afghanistan? That's what it was. It was like a whole bunch. Like he noticed that the American army was sending a whole bunch of Coca. Like the CIA was sending a whole bunch of plane loads of Coca-Cola over to Afghanistan. He's like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, right.
I
yeah.
just think more generally the WikiLeaks platform, hosting all sorts of stuff that that people didn't want out there. So yeah,
but I love the fact that the music takes such a political approach. But it's fun music. Do you know what I mean? Like even if you don't take that away from it, the music is fucking good.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, man. And I mean, we were influenced by bands like Lamb of God, Rage Against the Machine. Where it's awesome music, incredible riffs. Awesome drums. And then there's that political aspect of the lyrics that if you want to get into it, you can. You don't have to, but hopefully, listening to it opens some minds and people. I don't know if we can't sort of do the change. Hopefully, we can motivate or inspire some other people to do it. So
yeah,
No, that's good.
for sure. And I wanted to ask as well the film clip for "Break the Silence," that that was utilizing a lot of AI generation stuff for that, wasn't it?
yeah. So we sort of wanted to sort of take a bit more of a DIY approach to it. Didn't have a massive budget for it, so I thought, hey, AI, how hard can it be? And then dove into that little rabbit hole, and yeah, that was like a month of my life that was much harder than it looks.
Was it? I sort of delve into this a little bit with my editing and stuff like that. Was it like a animation AI filter that was sort of that you done in sort of post after you pulled those clips together?
Yeah, that's what we ended up doing. So we ended up using a lot of stock footage to sort of make the narrative. Basically, we sort of did a bit of a storyboard. We thought, okay, originally I tried using a few of the different platforms, using the prompts, and what I was getting back was it was trippy and amazing, but just wasn't what we wanted. So then we went down the stock footage route just to sort of, so we could piece together the narrative. And then we fed that through, an AI animator sort of filter. The idea was to do it scene by scene, but unfortunately the editing program I used crashed and I lost like pretty much the entire timeline. But luckily I'd sent that to, like 40 hours of work, just gone. But I'd sent a draft just to the guys, like probably 24 hours beforehand. And they'd sort of approved that as a rough draft. So we just ended up feeding that into the engine, and then it sort of came back with these really trippy things, like all the clock towers and stuff in there and stuff. Like we didn't put any of that in there. It just sort of, and a lot like there's one scene where like the face is over the hands, and it's almost like they're putting on a mask. That was just actually the engine getting confused. And then we used a few other sort of platforms to generate some stills and then turn that into video to put into like that narrative. Just where we had sort of gaps because the stock footage couldn't fill it. So I think we ended up like using 3-4 different platforms in total.
It's very cool.
And,
very
mate, that is the way AI is meant to be utilized. Right there.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of effort and time that's gone into it, and you use it for your end production in the filters and stuff like that. That's the way it's meant to be used.
Yeah, and that was a specific like style that you were going for with it, right? Like that sort of the fact that I mean, going into it, I would assume you would sort of have thought, well, the AI is going to maybe, be a bit weird about some things here and there, so it'll be a little bit sort of uncanny valley, a little bit off-putting in certain stuff, and I'm guessing that was maybe part of what you were going for with that.
It was actually sort of more of the byproduct of it, really.
Yeah, or a happy accident.
Like originally we were like, let's go animation, like, because our vocalist, my brother Morgs, he's a pilot, and last Easter he moved to Darwin, and so we're like, it's gonna make it very hard to shoot and release, video clips and stuff like that. And so that's when we came up with the animation idea. Then looked at the budget, and that was going to be, triple of what actual live shoot would be. And that's then when we thought, well, what about AI? Can we do it that way? And then, sort of we're trying to sort of do more of a pure sort of animation style. And then when the AI engine came up with this really trippy stuff, we're like, we actually really like that. It's making it more interesting, and adding that extra dimension to it. So we just really lent into it.
I mean, visually, it kind of has. Visually, it kind of gives a little bit of the that like Pink Floyd, The Wall kind of vibe.
It's an acid trip. When I was watching, it was like an acid trip.
We actually got that quite a few times. Like a few of our mates been too. They were like, "Dude, I was going to hit up my dealer for some mushrooms, but I don't need to now. I'll just watch your clip on repeat."
Because when you hit those when it hits the pastels in it, that's what it's like.
Yeah, it's a very cool clip, and it's like a really, definitely an interesting use of, the AI tools available to you. But as you said, like it was a lot of work that kind of went into it, and that was just one of the tools that was used to, add that effect on top at the end there, which is, it's super cool. It really, really is.
Yeah, thanks.
So obviously, you guys are dropping a bit of new music at the moment, and you had some songs there previously. I'm very curious about the whole 27.1 27.2 thing. Like, what's the deal with that? What's going on there?
So it's a little bit of fate and tragedy, unfortunately. So we wrote the first song 27.1, and that was originally just called 27, because my brother wanted to write about the 27 Club. He was sort of really interested about that, but then said to one of our good mates, I don't know how to write from that perspective, where you obviously haven't had any fame or anything like that. I don't know what it's like. And so, our good mate Nico was like, why don't you use quotes from all the 27 club members? So we did that for all the verses. That was a really interesting concept. And then the actual outro, we had this idea, well, it'd be cool to do like a second part, but just using that chord progression and then revisiting some of the riffs and reimagining them. And then unfortunately, lockdowns hit, and Morgan and my sister, who's actually Morgan's twin, took her own life, and so we wanted to sort of do something like a bit of a tribute song for her, and we're like, we've got this outro, we've already got this song about people being taken, these amazing creative people being taken before in their prime. So why don't we link it to that? And we decided to sort of go more of a sort of ballad version. And we're all huge fans of Slipknot. And Vermilion Part 2. Well, like it'd be really cool to do it in that sort of tone a little bit. And so we pretty much took that outro and used that as the chord progression for the verses, and it was sort of actually in a really weird key. And we thought, well, let's really try to experiment with some songwriting. We'll base it around that key and just see what can happen. And then we actually performed it at her wake.
Oh wow!
And it was funny. Like Morgs forgot the chorus, or where the chorus ended, and he ended up like stopping the song mid stage in front of a full room of people, and which is usually like the worst thing you can do. But he ended up like sort of making a joke of it. Everyone in the room was sort of on board and laughing along with him. And then he looked at me to go, where do we start from again? And the first time we had gone through the pre-chorus, you just feel it in the room. Everyone just loved it. So I was like, let's start from there. So when we decided to go into the studio and do it, I just knew that it needs some heavier sections to really tie it in and for us to release it. And I really knew that pre-chorus was something special that we needed to really emphasize as well. And then that ended up sort of becoming that mid-section as well, into that sort of instrumental drum solo. And then I really wanted a big epic outro, sort of like a tribute from me to my sister. So I really wanted to go for that, like in your words, like Lamb of God sort of era. And I just knew that, Morgan had a lot of pain to release and get out. And so we decided to call it 27.1 and 27.2 because my sister was 30 when she passed. And so we already had the song called 27. So we thought the 0.1 plus the 0.2 altogether 30. And we wanted to be a little bit cryptic, so that's why we sort of went with the decimal points and stuff in there.
Wow.
And then the idea was with the film clips was to have them conjoined, and so that pretty much the first film clip sort of centered on the 27 Club, but also someone being completely involved in that and like mental illness sort of like forming and taking over sort of and consuming their life like it does. And that's why we sort of had the voodoo doll in the clip and stuff like that as well. And then used the same actress. And then in 27.2, she actually sort of re-enters the church in a different life, in a different light. And then goes to the altar, and that's when she discovers our sister's artwork and her scientific journals and stuff like that. And then there's sort of the projector at the end that sort of starts showing footage of Tash and stuff like that. And then a little quote at the end to really, as a tribute to her. So, yeah.
Wow.
Far
That's
out, man. I'm
that's
so
amazing,
sorry.
man. Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, man.
And
Thanks.
I mean, it's a hell of a tribute. It is. It's a
Mm.
hell of a tribute. It's like so much, clearly so much thought and care and love has gone into that.
Mm.
And I mean, knowing that context around it, um, like when I go back and listen to that again, it's gonna be obviously have a whole new, depth to it. Um,
It'll hit different,
it
100%.
will, it will,
Yeah,
and
yeah. No, it's
And it's so it's so, like we always say, I know musicians say take what you want from my music, whatever your interpretation is, but it hits so different when you can actually like really know what it's about, and then when you hear the song again, it pieces everything together. You listen to the song differently.
that's true. That's true. That's true. Um, and we all like we sort of did release it, as the tribute, but we didn't want to sort of promote that side and the story too much because we did want people to sort of listen in their own way. We did have some people sort of reach out, from overseas and so forth, and said, I've actually been going through a really hard time, or they've actually lost members, and that song was actually something that was healing them, and that was really great to hear. And then you sort of tell them what was written about. You can sort of really bond through the music, and it's a really beautiful thing to do. And yeah, and if it's helping people, I mean, that's what our sister would have really liked, and that's what we wanted. So
100%.
yeah,
And you've really hit the target there where that's what music has the power of. Where
mm, mm.
it can yeah, that's why we love what we love. It's because when we're in those positions and we hear that song, it resonates.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, music's helped me. It definitely helped my brother through the grieving process when he was writing that. Um, and a lot of our friends as well in various different bands, like when they've gone through hard times and trials and tribulations. Yeah, they use music as a powerful healing force, and whether they're creating or they're just listening and healing that way, it's extremely powerful.
It
I
is.
mean, yeah, like that's the thing. I mean, I remember um, reading, many years ago about where they did studies into music and mood and how music being used to process emotions of all different types. And it was, you would think, okay, well, if I'm sad and I want to, move past that, put on happy music, right, to try and lift your mood like that. But what they
Mm,
found was that if when people were sad, they put on sad music, and it helped them, process and work through those feelings and emotions to then come out the other side of that. And so rather than providing, maybe you put on happy music, it lifts your mood temporarily, it gives you, but you're not really dealing with what's actually caused you to be upset in the first place. Um,
exactly,
and
exactly.
this is where, like people that it's kind of thing like we know when it comes to metal, like people that don't get it just don't get it. They
Mm,
don't they don't understand, like, why would we want to listen to music that's filled with, like a lot of anger and sadness and, you know, negativity about a lot of stuff. And it's like, well, we're angry, we're upset. Like there's a lot of shit out there that we're trying to deal with and process. And, you know, listening to angry music when we are angry is cathartic. When we're the sad music when we're upset, it's cathartic. It helps us work through it and process it so that we can then, come out the other side of that or go back into the world and be hopefully better people for it, and more, more able to
definitely.
face the rest of the world and what's going on there. So I mean that's a hell of a story behind that one.
Fucking oath.
I
Yeah.
I'll be honest, a lot more than what I expect than what I expected
Yeah.
behind it, for sure. But
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
for sharing that one with us.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. No worries at all. And yeah, as I said, we just hope it, something that can help other people. It keeps her spirit and legacy alive.
Mm,
And it does.
And yeah, yeah. Thanks,
definitely,
thanks.
And just
definitely.
to add to what Raf said, it's like when sometimes I just want, listen to metal, and it's like, why do you listen to it? It's like, well, you know what, Steve? Not everyone had parents that hugged us all the time and loved us, and I just want to be pissed off, and I just want to be with a bunch of pissed off people that see the rest of the world the way I do. So, Steve, go away. I don't know who Steve is, but I
Sorry
didn't
if your
want to.
name is Steve.
I didn't want to say Karen. It was just too easy.
Yeah, too
Yeah,
easy
Karen's
there.
an easy target.
Too easy.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, like a lot of people say, like distraction's a beautiful thing, and you can use music to distract yourself. As you said, you put on something happy or a pump up tune, but you do have to deal with those issues. And
Yes.
music, some subconsciously can help you do that sometimes. Sometimes actually it can definitely sort of put you back in that zone where you need to really focus on it.
Yep.
And that can be helpful
Yeah.
as well. So,
Yeah, and we definitely want to say, like, if anyone watching is, like experiencing thoughts of self-harm or anything like that, like, please reach out. I promise you, the people in your life love you and care about you. And, you know, what's the saying? Like, I'd rather listen to you, I'd rather listen to you cry than attend your funeral. Like, I'd rather, so the people in your life love you and care about you. And so please, if you're experiencing any thoughts of self-harm, please reach out to them. Or, reach out to the various hotlines that are out there. There's services available that can help you, because, like, we'd much rather you guys be around for as long as possible. So I just want to
100%.
touch on there as well. So at the time of recording, you've got a gig coming up. By the time this episode comes out, that will have passed. But have you guys been out there doing a lot of gigs sort of lately? Has it been more writing, recording? Like, what's the process been like for you guys over the past 12, 18 months?
Yeah, yeah. So we sort of took a little bit of a lull when Orgs went up north.
Hmm.
So he sort of left. What was that last Easter? So Easter 2022. And we pretty much didn't do anything until we did an East Coast tour earlier this year in March. Until then, we hadn't really done much. We played a show just prior to that at the Bendy Indigo Hotel here in Melbourne. And we were fortunate enough to sort of hook up with an awesome vocalist who you can sort of fill in occasionally. And so we've done a couple of shows with him here and there just to sort of keep us big fit. But then, yeah, we sort of just try and book shows that we can hopefully, get a good return on, so that way we can cover, flights from Darwin and all that sort of lovely stuff. So, yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I keep
definitely.
on catching a glimpse of the top of your t-shirt. You're wearing
I
a
was
T-Rex.
literally
Or
about to
you're
ask
you're
that.
wearing a T-Rex autopsy. You're wearing a Where the Fuck's the Mayo t-shirt, are ya?
That's it. That's it. There it is. There.
Oh,
Yep.
love
Uh,
it. Yeah, the homies.
Yeah.
yep, I
Because
caught
we
that.
play with these guys in Penrith.
Good old
At
Penno. Good the riff.
Elton John's. Yeah. Um,
Oh, when was that?
yeah. Would have been March 20th, 21st or 22nd.
Okay, I wasn't at that
Right.
one.
Sorry, March 19 it would have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle's a lot of those shows down there at Elton John.
Yeah,
So
I love Elton Chong. It's my favorite venue in Sydney.
it's a cool venue, man.
Yeah, man.
It was fun place, and our vocalist Morgs. As soon as he heard he could get up in that bar, he was up there.
Yeah,
we
have you played at Elton Chong's if your band member doesn't hop in the bar? I don't think you can say you played Elton Chong's unless the band member hops up on the bar.
That's true. That's true. Especially because T-Rex opened, and Ross was up on top of the bar. He was out on the sidewalk shredding solos. Like it was nuts.
I was at that
Wow.
show. I swear I was at that show. I swear I was at that show. It was like a 3
Would
o'clock.
have been-
Who else was playing at that one?
So Whisperhead.
Yes, I was at that show. I was at that
Yeah.
show. I went to that
Oh,
show.
there we go. Nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
I stupidly locked the keys in one of our cases that contained the quad cortex that runs my guitar, Dino's bass, and also all our in-ears. And the only reason I realized was T-Rex Autopsy started sound checking, and as soon as they were like, because I actually replaced another band that pulled out, and as soon as their name came up on the chat, I checked them out, and Heavy Metal Awesome Sandwich was one of the first songs I checked out, and I was just like, I love this band, got to see them. And so they started like sound checking. They started playing like some Lamb of God riffs as well, like Ross was just starting to warm up with them, and I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a good time. I got to get my earplugs, which are on my keys, and that's when I realized, fuck, where are my keys? And realized they were in like one of the cases, and I had about an hour and a half to get these cases open, and yeah, ended up running around looking for bolt cutters and all that sort of stuff, and went down to the local Bunnings, and
Dude,
what is sound
you were in Penrith. You could have just walked out the street, grabbed me, and just gone, "How do you break into this?"
Oh, there
Any
we go,
random
man. Yeah.
any random person in Penrith and just like, oh, I need you to break into
Yeah.
something.
I love Penrith. You're not that bad.
Well, luckily it was the drummer from Master Leonard. But, he saw me and the guitarist from Whisperhead trying to get in with like the world's smallest bolt cutters, and like they were just putting scratches on these locks. Like we're not gonna get through it all. And he was like, "Hey, first of all, do you own that case?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." So sorry, man. We're not trying to steal some stuff. He goes, "Do you need to get into it?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Lucky, I'm a tradie, and I got my ute here. We'll just go out with the grinder." So I think
Nice.
T-Rex were playing, like they're shredding solos, and we were like 2 doors up, case, grinder, sparks in the middle of Penrith, and when that
Fucking
lock hit
case
the
was it?
ground. So what?
What kind of case was it?
Oh, it's like one of these Pelican cases. So I'd padlocked it because we're flying, because we had like 3 shows in the one weekend sort of thing,
Fuck.
and my 20-year-old ex-trail would have barely made it over the border, let alone up to Queensland and down to Penrith.
Okay. That makes sense. I was like,
growing
you
up,
take a grinder to it, like Jesus. But no, you said
yeah,
it's the one. I'm like, that makes more sense.
yeah, and then got into it, and still caught half their set. Got to see him play Sandwich, and I was just like, happy man. Yeah.
Question. Might be a dumb question, but did you consider trying to knock the pins out of the hinges rather than grind the fucking thing to get it open?
Yeah, I think the guitarist from Whisperhead, he suggested that, and then also the two wrenches kind of trick.
Yep.
But it was just sounding a bit iffy, and I was like, look, there's a Bunnings up the road. I'll do that.
Fair.
And
Fair. I'm just trying to
that's
think
it.
of like other ways to, because like if you can get the pins out, you just put, once you get it sorted, you put the pins back in, and you're not, still got the case there. But no, I mean, yeah.
Nah, that's
obviously you're
metal. That's
you're in
metal
the
as
thick
shit.
of it.
You
You're in the
should have
thick of
filmed
it.
it.
Like
You should have filmed it and
I
put it
would've-
on.
Look, I probably wouldn't have thought of that at the time either. To be honest with you, I would have been like stressed out. I would have been,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm a very stressy Nessie when it comes to gigs.
There would have been
So
steam coming out of Raf's ears.
absolutely, yeah. My face would have been the color of this shirt. Like that's what would have happened.
Well, that was me. I was stressing
Yeah.
out hard, one, because I didn't want to, I really wanted to play the show, and I wanted the rest of the band to be able to play, and also because I really wanted to see, the T-Rex Autopsy Boys absolutely shredded. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Mm.
They do go pretty
Wow.
Verco.
They do. They
Yeah.
do.
it
So,
was awesome.
have you guys been? What kind of like? Have you guys planning any more like releases music wise towards through the rest of this year, or what's happening in there?
Yeah, we've just started writing again. We sort of had a couple of songs kind of written before the tour, and we're sort of in the process of recording some demos for them. But what we'd sort of done previously, it was either Dino, our bass player, or myself would come up with a riff, and then Dino and I would get together, flesh out a song. I'd put like some dodgy, software drums to them, and then Morgs would put some vocals, and then we'd usually show Frankie, and Frankie would then write the drums, and we'd revisit and the structure and so forth. But post tour, we were just like, why don't we try something different? We'll just get in a room and start, instead of from a finished song or a half finished song, start with one riff. So yeah, we've had a few writing sessions doing that, and it's fun, sounding great. So we're hoping either maybe a long format EP, or maybe if not our first album. Try and get it written, start recording by the end of the year, and see where that takes us.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really, really cool. Like I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for that, and hopefully once you get get the album done, you can get out on the road again, get some more shows happening.
Yeah.
You have to
I'll
come play
try.
Ram It Down.
Yep, I'll try and keep an eye out for when you're up
Oh,
in
yeah.
Brisbane for sure. You
Yeah.
know, that'll be good. I know it's a hell of a trick. It's a hell of a trek from Melbourne to come up to Brisbane these days.
It was, but we had so much fun, it was awesome, touring, and I think it was the day after Penrith, we woke up, and we are all disappointed that we didn't have a show to go play. The next show was the next weekend, and we're just
Aw.
like, it's night, damn it.
Yeah. What do we do with
So-
ourselves now? What have we become?
Yep.
That's it. Back to work. Back to the 9 to
Yeah.
5.
Oh, dude. That's the worst part about it. You just had the rock star moment, even though, like it wasn't a stadium or nothing like that. You still get that feeling, and then you got to go back to reality.
Yep. And then
That's
the
it.
people,
That's it. And you're hanging
the
out
people-
with, the
and
other
the people
bands
you
and stuff like that. They're all like-minded people, and like because we were touring with Whisperhead, we saw them, 3 shows in a row, and it was great just getting to know them, hang out with them, and then next day you're back in the office. People are sort of a bit don't really know what you do really. So
No, we're all fucking boring.
or
We're all
if they
fucking
like,
boring. When we go back to our 9 to 5, we're not rock stars anymore. We're fucking boring people, and we have to go do shit. That we
and if they know you're in a band, they're always like, "Oh, so how much money did you make on your shows?" And I love when people that I work with ask me that question because I always answer. It's like when someone asks how old you are, right? Like you never give them the answer. You always like, "How old do you think I am?" So my answer when they ask how much did you make off your shows, or how much do you get paid from shows, my response is always, "How much do you think I get paid for shows?"
True.
And
It's good.
I love the different reactions because like I've had people say like, you know, I've had people be like, oh, I don't know, a couple of $100. I've had people say like, oh, I don't know, like I guess like $1,000 a show or something. And I'm like, look, if my band was getting paid $1,000 a show,
I wouldn't be.
I would be bliss. Like I could, I could.
I wouldn't be
if
here
I-
talking to you, Susan.
if my bands, if I could get paid $1,000, my projects could get paid $1,000 for every show that they do from here on out. Like that'd be fine. Like I would totally be on board with that, right? Like you, that's gonna fund so much of the projects that, like this. And I just love hearing the layperson's idea of, like what they think happens, like how they think it works, because it's like anything else, right? People not in the industry don't know how the shit works.
And that's right. It purely shows the detachment between consumer and musician.
And it just reminds you how much of a bubble you're in sometimes too.
Yeah, well.
True. Or when people they try and barter you down on the merch as well. They're like, oh, but surely you guys are making good profit out of that. It's like, well, I can give you $2 off, but then it's pretty much cost price. Like,
You know what? You should make him feel bad. You'd be like, unless you want some like little 5-year-old Chinese kid making this in a sweatshop, you're paying. Do you really want to feel that bad?
Oh, I could give you a bit of discount, but I really want to eat this week,
Yeah.
It's almost like the comic book guy out of fucking Big Bang Theory. Thank you. I can eat meat this week.
I mean, and that's it. Like, we know, like when you're in a band, like we know how much this shit costs, right? So like when we're at a gig or when we're dealing with other people in bands, like we're not going to argue about the price of their merch. Like we just, and you might do a trade or whatever. Sometimes if you're both cool for that, but a lot of the time you're like, oh, okay, no, I like that band. I want to support them. I want to, pay full price for the merch. Like, cause it's just, what goes into it. Right. And it's just, I'm constantly reminded, like I get blown away, but then I have to like by how little the average person knows and understands about how the business works, about how, what we deal with and what we have to go through with this stuff. But then I have to remember like, no, but like they're not in it. If I wasn't in it, I wouldn't know this shit either. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And there's so many industries out there that we just don't have the faintest understanding of how they actually operate because we're not in them. And it's like, this is why we, like, I think this is why we say constantly, like, people that play music consume music in an entirely different way. Like to the average person. The average person that's just out there listening to music, and that's their engagement with music, just listening to it and just consuming it. They have an entirely different relationship and experience in that process than people who play music and create music have with that same stuff, that same material. Like it's
Well, the
you know,
annoying part is it even comes down to like as soon as you first hear a song and the production value is just like through the roof. Your first mind as a musician and a recording one is just like, how much did that cost?
Yeah.
Listen to the quality of that, and then you work backwards from there, and you're just like, what the absolute just studio time.
Yeah. That's it. That's so expensive, but so worth it. That's it.
100%.
Good producer.
100%.
Yeah.
A good
Same thing with,
producer's
like,
worth their weight in gold.
Like you'll see a full production film clip, and you go, "Wow, that must have cost a lot,"
Mm.
And yeah,
And that's it. Like, to do this stuff, unfortunately, it's like you need to have a lot of the time you need to put money into it, like with, I mean, when tensions arise, when we went to the US and recorded over there, like we knew that we were not getting that money back. We knew that money was being paid for the experience of doing it. And it was like we were never going to break even on it. We're never going to make any money. It was always going to be an endeavor that was, going to leave us with, five figures in the negative, on
But a
the
lot of
whole
cool fucking
process.
stories.
But exactly, and we did it. We
That's
did it for the gram, as the kids say. Like,
Yeah,
did
man.
it for the stories and the life experience, and because, if we had looked back and gone, man, we had the opportunity to record with someone that's recorded albums by bands that we idolize, and we had that opportunity and we didn't take it, even though we probably could have. Like, you're never gonna live, you're never gonna let yourself be okay with that. So
that's true. That's true.
we had to make it happen, and it was like, it was cool. Didn't quite have the result. Didn't quite come out with the result that we wanted. Not in terms of what we got out of it, like EP wise, but in terms of what it did for us career wise. Didn't quite have the result that we anticipated, but that's probably on us for having unrealistic expectations around it, right? And maybe not taking the most advantage of, coming out of that.
Yeah, but you guys came out of this weird in between stage where like social media was kind of a thing, but not a thing, but kind of a thing, and we didn't know how to utilize it properly. Like, you think about it now, if you knew, like, I know I hate saying it, but if you had known what you know now, and then you had that opportunity again, you do things a lot different. Especially with the technology and shit like that now.
But also you have to remember as well, back then we were, social media was at a time when there wasn't algorithms to deal with.
Exactly.
Like, you followed people, you followed people and pages, and you saw all of their posts in chronological order when they went out. Facebook invites were, at least in the early days, were still a reasonable expectation of a gauge of numbers, right? Like, it was never a guarantee, but it was like people,
It
would, like,
actually meant something.
if you had like a large number of people attending on the show, it was good chance that the show was going to do good numbers. Whether it was that many people was a different story, but it was going to do decent numbers. Whereas now, when it's like they got the algorithm there, and so many people, most of you people aren't even seeing your posts that you're putting out there, and to get more people seeing them, people have to be interacting with them, and you have to post regularly, and you have to, and this, it's like we had, I guess, coming out of the MySpace era into
Just
the
in the
early
Facebook
era, just in the early Facebook era, But it's, I mean, yeah, like we say, if we could take what we know now and go back and redo certain things, like, yeah, of course you'd do them differently. That's why hindsight's 2020, right?
Put me in an 18-year-old body now and give me not 37. Oh, I'll dominate. I'll take over the world.
Absolutely. Well, look, why don't we dive into our first segment? If
Let's do it.
Kyle would be so kind as to hit the button.
I am. Let's hit it.
That you had you could
Quick question
you do
quarter.
you want you could do so you
And we're back.
And we are back. So now it's time for the quick question quarter that is spelt with Q's, not K's, because we don't roll like that. And we basically, this is some rapid fire questions for our guest. They start out easy, they get a little bit more in depth as we go along. But the idea is that, both we and you, our discerning audience, get to know our guest a little bit more. You get to know what makes them tick musically. You just get to understand a little bit more about their musical history. So what we're going to do is dive right in here, Adrian, with the first question. What was the first instrument that you learned to play?
Oh, would have been piano.
Nice.
Nice.
Foundation
was-
instrument.
Very reluctant. I wanted to play the drum kit, but Mum wanted. She was like, "No, I'm going to get you an instrument I can try and turn off." So it was a piano.
Or at least plug headphones into, right? Like if it's like a keyboard electronic piano thing.
That's it. I lasted 2 weeks, and then my sister took over, and she mastered it. So
There you
Yes,
go.
yeah.
What
What a choice.
what was the first album that you purchased?
Well, first album, Living End, self-titled.
Nice.
That's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
choice. That's a good one,
Remember
man.
rocking it on the little TIAC. I think it had 90-second anti-skip Discman.
I had
what
the
a lie
same
that
one.
was.
I had
What a
so-
lie anti-skip was. Like
It was.
Biggest-
It was a bit. It was the biggest. It was the biggest upsell.
biggest crock of shit. And no wonder
Yeah.
no wonder we all wanted super baggy pants because we had these fucking, had to stick things this big in our goddamn pockets.
Yep.
That's why we needed
That's
baggy
it.
pants because they had the giant pockets on them. What was the
Yeah.
first live concert that you attended?
Oh, Parkway Drive at the Mount Gambier RSL.
Solid.
Like
Yeah.
just before they dropped Killing with a Smile. So in between the Don't Cry EP. And the intro song was the Star Wars theme song. It was incredible.
That's when you know a concert hits different.
Absolutely. So wow, that's awesome.
Also, my first
That's-
first mosh pit injury as well. I ripped on the opening band. I called them emo as fuck. In the second band set, and the guitarist turned around and just eyeballed me. And I was just like, okay. And then cross paths with him in the Parkway pit. He kind of like fell back on some people in front of me, and then just headbutted me straight in the face.
Oh,
I pissed
shit.
out. My mates were like, "Do you want to sort him out?" I'm like, "No, man. I deserve that. I deserve that 100%."
Hey, good on you. Good on you.
I also learned that's why you don't talk shit on other bands.
I mean, that's it. Like we try and, when we do our reactions on Metal Ruse or whenever we're talking about stuff, if there's stuff that we don't like, we always try and take care to put it in the context of, it's not for us. We're just not vibing with it, right? Like we try not to, there's a lot of things to go through before we would say something was actively bad. It was almost
Yeah.
always be like, there's respect the talent, like respect what's happening there, but it's just not for us. We just don't vibe with it. I mean, when I was studying music at TAFE, there was, it was a point made that, doesn't matter how bad they are, if someone's getting up on stage and taking the risk of getting up on stage and performing, they at least deserve that respect. They at least deserve the applause. They at least deserve some accolades and applause for literally taking that risk and putting themselves out there like that, whether you vibe with it or not. And that's something that I absolutely agree with. Like from a performer perspective, like we've all had the stage fright and the nerves and everything, and like the stress that comes with getting up there, and we know the work that goes into it. So like, that's something I 100% agree with, and I always try and encourage. And I'm like, well, even go to a gig, even if I don't really dig what's put up in front of me, you still applaud. You still give a bit. It doesn't have to be the most enthusiastic applause, but
Yeah.
and that's it. And I mean, you obviously learned your lesson a slightly different way.
What did we
That's it.
learn?
Okay.
Hey, that's why people talk so much shit on Facebook and that, because they can't get a headbutt after the fucking show.
Yep.
That's it.
But I mean, but again, like this is what we were talking about before, right? Like people that aren't in it don't understand that.
Mm.
So many people that they don't understand what goes into even the most, you know, rudimentary level of performances, that like they don't realize why. They look at it and they just go, well, okay, you got up on stage, like, yeah, I don't have to applaud for that. I don't have to, you know, so what? You know what I mean? Like pizza. So this is just, it goes back to all that stuff. Like we understand this stuff because we're in the bubble.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
It's
Yeah.
true. It is true.
And
right.
there's always some perspective of a
Yeah.
performance that you can applaud, that you can say
But this
value.
is the thing.
So
This is why we do the podcast, for all the lay people to learn.
Well, I hope so. I would hope that there's maybe some people that are watching that aren't
Show etiquette.
performers and stuff, and that can maybe take some of this stuff away, right? Like peek behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah, we broke. We broke. They're playing shows, and if you're going to talk shit about the music at the show, you're probably going to get a headbutt by a broke boy.
that's it.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to tell your friends? Musician headbutted me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But then when
The
then when
broke boy
the band,
broke me.
then when the band gets a bit bigger, they'll be like, oh yeah, you know that band? Like I got headbutted by them.
Yeah.
You know,
Would
they'll
never
try and
wash my
get, like,
never wash my nose again.
try and get clapped from it.
That's
What's an instrument that you've always wanted to learn but haven't yet?
probably would be the piano, to be honest. Yeah.
Mama was right.
Mum was right. Mum was right. I
Either
mean, look,
that or the drums.
yeah, like
Yeah.
speaking from personal experience, like I had 5 years of piano. It look, you just, I think that maybe it's different for me because maybe it's because I kind of, piano was where I first really learnt music and music theory and things like that. But it, like the way that piano encompasses, you know, the full range, well, not the full range, but you know, you got an 88 key piano there, like that covers the vast majority of the range of most instruments. You're playing, you know, you're playing the rhythm and the melody, like so you're playing the bass and like the rhythm and the melody, and you're theoretically doing everything all at once with it.
True.
You know,
And then you got foot switches.
Yep, you got the pedals
Yeah.
for the sustain and all that kind of stuff. So there's, you know, there's a lot to be gained from it in terms of musical understanding and perspective. And the good thing about it is, you know, like piano, like you got piano, you can do a MIDI keyboard. You know what I mean? Once if you
True.
can play piano, you put a MIDI keyboard in front of you, and you can usually get some semblance of what you're trying to communicate with a MIDI keyboard, which makes that much easier. You know,
Yeah.
you can lay out chord progressions. You can understand, like, if I had tried to learn about chords and then chord inversions on a guitar, I would
Yeah.
not have been able. It would have been so much harder for me. But literally on a piano keyboard, you're looking at it and you go, right, so that's the chord. The chord inversion, you change. You know, you literally just move the root note. It makes it laying it all out that way. I found made it a lot clearer. Maybe that's just for me and the way my brain works, but
Yeah.
it's a
I
very
completely
useful
agree as well.
instrument. You know?
Like, yeah, music theory, especially scales and modes, make much more sense visually on a keyboard where it is that one linear plane, as opposed to a fretboard where it does sort of almost wrap around and around and around, you know?
Yeah, and again, maybe it's because I learned on it first, but if I'm, with the exception of the open notes on a guitar or a bass, I'm like, if someone says, oh, what, you know, give me this note, I have to visualize a piano roll in my head and see the note on that first, and then work out where it is on the fretboard. Like, I can't, you give me a piano roll and you go find me that note, straight away I got it. But if I have to find it on a guitar or a bass fretboard, it's like I always have to think about it for a few seconds, almost always, to find it, because it's just, you know, it's just so ingrained in my musical understanding. But it's such a versatile instrument. It's so great. All right, next question. If you could pick one big band or artist to open a show for, with Vault Hill, who would it be? Now, this is some rules around this one, just so you understand. Now, well, basically there are no rules. This is living or dead, active or not, whatever point in their career you would prefer. Like who would be your, Bolt Hill opens for 'em and then you retire tomorrow from music? Who would that be for you?
Or I'd probably have to say Pantera.
Nice.
Pantera, probably
That's a strong choice.
far beyond Driven era. You know,
Nice.
probably, I mean, had some awesome albums after that as well.
Mm.
But I think probably live, that's probably where they're at. Yeah,
Oh, on the
Yeah,
peak of
I
their
mean,
party day too.
definitely would have been fun.
Yeah. I mean, you know what?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I know that the albums after that one do tend to cop a bit of flack from a lot of
Mm.
people. I think there's maybe not as a whole, but I think individually some of the songs on those are potentially some of their best ever. For me personally,
True, I
I
mean,
think, like, some of the material is just like I said, individually. It's like, was that Great Southern Trendkill was after Far Beyond Driven, wasn't it?
yeah, that's an incredible album. Like
Oh,
that's probably one of the heaviest albums as well. Like
mm,
I think that was the first album I heard. I remember the first time hearing Pantera, I was like, I wasn't into metal yet. I remember my first thought was, this isn't music. How can people think this is music? And then for the next week, was just walking around the house, just and like it was just stuck in my head. And then within a week, metal fan, you know.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, like that album is highly underrated. I think a lot of people look at, they look at Cowboys from Hell album, they look at,
mm,
Vulgar Display of Power, and they just immediately go, "Oh, those are the best ones," right? And I kind of go, "Well, yeah, okay, they they're fine," but I think as a complete package, you know, certain elements, or well, not even a complete packaging, but certain elements of the later albums are shit all over those first ones. Like the production's a lot fuller.
Oh
Those
yeah.
first few albums are very dry
yeah,
production
yeah.
wise, but the later albums, the production got significantly better on them. I think some of the riffage is better, heavier, a lot more intense.
And,
You
and
know,
the songwriting as well. Like there's
and
some of those the guitar lines and the guitar layers in them,
mm,
incredible.
yeah,
Then you got songs like Floods as well. Like I think that's probably Dimebag's best solo of all time.
mm,
It's just incredible.
yeah, definitely. All right,
Mm.
time to break out your Spotify playlist. Who is an artist or band that you're listening to right now that you believe is seriously underrated and more people should pay attention to?
Probably Vilify, I'd say. Like that latest EP, absolute game changer. Absolutely love it. That's
Mhm.
awesome. That and Make Me Suffer as well. Like I
I
absolutely
think
love
someone
that
mentioned
band.
Vilify the other week. I think someone mentioned
Sorry,
Vilify
was
the other
that?
week to us, actually.
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah,
shout
yeah,
out to that
yeah,
name mentioned
yeah.
Was
Vilify.
it
Band from
Brooke?
Yeah,
Commute.
yeah. Brooke might have mentioned him the other. Yeah. God damn.
Yeah,
There you go.
There
Okay.
you go. You're making some noise, Vilify.
Yes. Oh, that's
yeah,
right. Yes.
yeah.
I
No,
think. I think. I think Asacherry are playing with them, or Frozen Eddie. One of those is playing with Vilify. That's I think where that came up.
Mm.
So that's really really cool. We'll definitely check them out.
yeah, it's just
Good.
really energetic, like that sort of new hardcore sort of metal, and yeah, like some of the riffs, they absolutely just face rippers. Other ones, super groovy. Um, and yeah, the live show is just next level. Like, yeah, we
Oh,
love.
okay.
Love it.
But then yeah, last few gigs we've actually had here in Melbourne, they've been playing, and I was just sort of just gutted as a fan because I was like, I'd really love to go see them again, and
Yeah,
but I
nice.
can't. I'm across the other town. So
Um.
yeah.
All right. What is something people may be surprised to learn about you?
Uh, Technically, my first music purchase was Barbie Girl by Aqua.
There is nothing wrong with that.
Here you go.
No,
The well,
nothing wrong, that's for sure. But
No.
think
you know,
about it. You go to a lot of. I've been to multiple, big metal shows where between sets they're just playing whatever, and Barbie Girl comes on. Everyone's singing along, dancing along, having a grand old time
it's
with it.
hits you right in the nostalgia.
It does.
Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah.
We
Oh my god.
we didn't all start off as metalheads.
Yeah.
Metal found us. Metal found
Speaking of
us.
nostalgia, speaking of nostalgia, I was in a store the other day, and a song came on that I haven't heard in probably 15 plus years, but it's burned into my fucking brain because it was a song that came out when I was in high school, and it was just one of those ones that kind of was everywhere for a few weeks and then kind of went away. Do you remember the song Coco Jumbo?
Oi,
yeah.
oi, oi, cook. I won't go too far because we'll
Yeah.
probably get copyright struck. But yeah.
But yes, that song came on, and I was like, it just washed over me like this fucking, what am I hearing? Like,
Oh,
Wow.
that's certified dance
You know
floor.
what the worst part? All I want to do is sing the song. Like,
Yep.
you have destroyed me, Raph. That song is going to be stuck in my head.
well, afterwards, go and find it and have a
I'm
listen
going
to it.
to. I'm going to
You
put it
go.
on for my kids, and we can get
Yep.
the cocoa. It was like when
Get it going all over again, and then in 20 years, they'll have a sudden memory of it. And
you know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for that song to come off copyright and see what the
Oh.
DJs are going to do.
Oh,
Bro,
yeah.
you be. I hate to tell you, dude. We'll be long dead by then.
Don't.
We'll be long dead by then. And last but not least, as I meant, I called myself Reverend Raph at the start of the podcast because I am a certified reverend ordained minister. So with that, it is confession time. What is your worst music sin? You can take that in whatever context you like.
I'm practically tone deaf.
There you go. There you
Yep.
go.
There you go.
It's look, it's crazy. I mean, I'm quite often quite the same. I am.
Yep.
Yeah, I struggle a lot when it comes to singing. I'm a bass player. I'm a thing like yeah.
Yeah, I recently first show we played with the fill-in vocalist. Well, I've had having a jam for it, and he was like, "I don't really want to do any cleans." I was like, "Oh, I'll give it a shot. Why not?" So had the first crack at band practice. We finished. I looked at the other guys. They all looked at me, and we all went, "Nah."
At least you were self-aware about the whole thing.
That's it.
You know, that's how people ended up on Australian Idol.
True.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Well, there you have it. That was the quick question quarter. Time to
Love
move
that.
on to segment number dos.
The favorite one. Let's hit it.
Favorite
Come
one.
on,
Hit it.
if you want to fight, come on then.
Get in the
Are
bin.
you enjoying the weather there, mate? What? Are you enjoying the weather there?
I love that pommy dude in the wheelie bin.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Get in the Bin. So, yes, this is where we talk to, I guess we say that if they could have, phenomenal cosmic power and just snap their fingers and make shit disappear, what 3 things would you make disappear from the music business and why?
We'll have to go. People that complain that there's no live scene but don't go to the gigs themselves.
Yep. I mean, we were touching on that. We were touching on that earlier, right? Like people.
What he said.
People just, I look, obviously there's a lot of musicians, a lot of people that are in the business that are very saddened by the closing of these venues. But, as we pointed out, there's a lot of people sharing stuff about it, and they maybe haven't gone to these venues in years. And I appreciate things are there, but if people aren't going to the gigs, then the money's just not going through them to be worth it. So.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And then the venues close one by one. The scene gets smaller, or there's no venues that will support that subgenre or that genre of the scene, and it just
Funny story,
does.
actually. I was at time of recording. I was at Nowhere Fest last night at Mansfield Tavern, and just was sitting down outside, just getting some air, chilling out. This lady comes up to me. She's like, "Oh, so do you mind if I sit down here? Like all the other tables are taken." I'm like, yeah, go for it. Sit down, whatever. We got chatting. She works at the zoo. She works there, and she was like, yeah, she was just telling me like it's just about like they just got like they got aircon put in that was supposed to like make it a lot more bearable, so it wouldn't be as hot and stifling in there for people, and then like it broke after 2 days, and then like just they were just as shocked by the announcement of the closure as a lot of other people were, and it was just So it was just the fact that I ran into someone, happened to bump into someone that worked there, um, so soon after the closure of that as well, the announcement, sorry, of the closure. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
You know what the worst part about it is? You watch that last show at the zoo.
oh,
It's
between
gonna
now and
be
July,
it's gonna be fucking stupid, and everyone's gonna be going,
yep,
and it fucking annoys the shit out of me.
hmm
It
That's
wasn't
it.
like
That's it.
it wasn't like the whole Frankie's Pizza ordeal where it just got stolen from us.
mm,
Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
This is yeah, it's a completely different kettle of fish.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
And they're going to
Exactly.
be making money hand over fist over the next couple of weeks because everyone's going to be going there, and
Yeah.
that's going to hit. That's going to cut them up the most.
yeah,
Because if
Yep.
if they started off like this announcement would never have had to happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's
Definitely.
always those same people as well that complain that there's no live scene or no local scene or no one comes to their gigs. But then when they're not playing, not at gigs, and then they'll be the ones that show up and pretend like they wanted to be there every week. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so, I mean, look. To be fair, I to a point, I kind of get when you're playing a lot of gigs.
Yeah.
Going to gigs outside of that can feel like work. I know that I have been guilty of attending less gigs when I'm playing a lot of gigs, and now that I'm not playing as many gigs, I'm able to get out to more gigs and support things. Um,
Hmm.
but it's yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from though,
But it
and your
works in
points.
both ways too. But when you're not going to the gigs, you're promoting your own gigs. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? So either way, it's for a band member. I think it's different. I think it's like as long as you can get out to a show every now and then, support your friends, good on you.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in between, if you're having a big stint,
Mm.
because you got to put back into what you've taken from.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking
Exactly.
about the I'm talking about the average everyday punter. As far as a musician goes, I have no angst in any of them. They got to do what they got to do. They got to diversify, whatever. I'm talking about the average everyday punter that doesn't play music that spews about
Yeah.
the venue closing.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of those same people will be stuck in the past. Like they'll say, "Oh, they'll complain there's no good bands. They'll complain no new good bands, no new good bands, no new good bands," and they're all they're listening to is shit from 30 years ago.
You want me to tell you something funny? So this week, my wife rang me, and she goes, "Someone on the radio. I won't mention who the radio station is. They're talking about music in Australia, rock bands in Australia, and stuff like that." So she rang me while I was at work. I thought, you know what, I'm going to ring this up. And I actually have to get this list off you to send to this person. But yeah, a couple of people rang in, and you know what? They were good enough to actually play some of the songs from some of the bands that these people mentioned, which was really good. It was an AM station.
Yep.
But it's starting to get spoken about. And it's starting to get spoken about in a big way. I have this weird feeling where we're getting to the stage, like with a lot of things, it's like you're speaking about this too late. Like we've been talking about this shit for the last 3 years, Raf.
Mm.
We have watched how many venues closed in the last 3 years, and we've talked about them all.
I mean,
And
it's been an issue going back fucking 20 years.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
even more.
But
Like
in saying that, like we, as Australians, we had a massive culture of these blowout bands making it big and stuff like that, like AC/DC, In Excess, and we had that culture that was built around it. It scares it's starting to scare people. What's going to happen to the music industry? My issue is that whether it's too little, too late with the way insurances and venues and on stuff like that's going on.
It makes it much harder for those upcoming bands, or the bands just starting out to even try and get to that level because they got
And
no
even when you go down to the underage shows, like what happened to all the shows at the PCYCs and where all those kids could cut their teeth.
Yeah, it's
I mean, like
it's a long chain.
social
And it's a
media
long time to get going again.
Yeah, and social media and stuff can be really powerful tool for bands to get sort of promote and get discovered, but then they're not getting that live experience. So then when people finally do go to when they do have a gig to see them play live, they might not have they might not be able to cut their teeth, so they might not be that great live. And then
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
Right. They're all standing
Yeah.
there like they're in a practice room playing.
yeah.
That's not their fault.
So,
That's not their
no,
fault.
no, that's
It's
it.
because
That's it. So
Well,
well, to an extent, but then it's like going to that job interview when you got a 20-year-old and they need 10 years experience out of the applicant.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to work unless they've had experience.
yeah.
True, true. There needs to be a scene for them to get experience. There needs to be venues. I
Mm.
mean, yeah.
That's it. It's the cycle.
And you're not
Mm.
getting feedback off your crowd if you're not playing your shows.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So number one is just people that, talk about supporting the scene but don't, basically.
True, true. Yep. Number two, would be the return from, digital music streaming services like Spotify. Bit of a double-edged sword though, because again, it can be incredible for people to discover your music. As a music lover myself, I love the fact I can pay, $18 a month and have unlimited access to all the music in the world. But yeah, it would be nice to get a bit more of that back.
Have you been binge listening to our podcasts? Because that's literally, or that's almost verbatim what
Yeah.
what we say. I like about every third podcast about it.
Yep.
Like, oh my god.
Yep. But I do have a theory on that. So I think now is a day and age where you have the ability to make an album, but you don't have to release it all in one go.
Mm.
So it's as you're better off drip feeding people to keep yourself busy in the algorithm rather than bringing out a whole album, or you can release a whole album in one go and then bring it out in bits and pieces, or there's ways to go around it now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it pains me to say to people, don't waste your time writing an album, but I'm coming at it from purely like looking at it from an internet perspective on stuff like that. Like I would love nothing more than to jump back into the Exist Within boys and sit there and write a whole album and do that. But and I'll get the craft and I'll get the art of it. But now, and I've said it a fucking nauseum. I don't know how many times I've said it, but yeah, there's ways now to go around that sort of stuff to not let it fall into the ether.
True, true.
Which is the worst thing
Yeah.
that can happen, especially when you've got gold on your hands. You don't want to,
Yeah.
drip
It can
feed
be
people.
something sometimes it can be really hard to cut through, and get people's attention when there's so much. What is it, like 10,000 songs a day released?
Yeah.
So it can be hard to sort of keeping people's in their perspective and in their interest.
With their
but
attention. Nanoseconds.
That's it.
It's so funny. I can't believe basketball actually really hit the nail on the head. People these days, attention spans can only be navigated into nanoseconds.
Yeah, that's it.
And you got, and it's unfortunate, and even going to it now, you actually got to think about it like a psychologist when you release these things, because you got to think what's going to grab these people quickest, so I can get their attention for the rest of the 2.5 minutes that I have their attention on this song.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's it. Like, with the prevalence of TikTok and other platforms, and it's just songs are getting shorter. Average song length is getting shorter. It's getting more and more common for songs to have like just a single verse, or literally just be, verse, chorus, that's it.
What's that funny meme? It's like, how do you call a whole generation of a song with one press of the piano key?
Yeah.
And they play the intro to that
the G note from My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty crazy. But yeah, no, we say it all the time on here. We don't shut up about it.
And we won't shut up about it.
Streaming services, that the fact that they pay bands fuck all, and the irony is that most of them are owned by, at least in part, by the record labels that license the music out to them. So
Yeah.
like, why they're just doing business deals with themselves so that their artists, the more money goes to them and less goes to the artists. So
Mhm.
True.
it's crazy. I mean, you know.
Capitalism, yay!
All right. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's number 2. What's number 3?
Number 3 would have been stairs at venues, but with digital instruments, I can't think of that anymore. You know.
Police systems, come on, people! Like, how long has the police system been involved for? If you know you're having bands upstairs, it's a primitive fucking structure. Pulley system.
Yeah, or at least
it.
get like
Yeah.
at least get like one of those old people lifts for your stairs, so that we can you can put our amps on it and take them up that way, right? Like, at least do that.
True. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. 2024, we're still lugging our shit upstairs like cavemen.
Well, that's it.
I'll have to start adding just 2 pieces of wood and a bit of rope. You know,
Well,
make a sleigh. Just pull
I
it up.
saw a joke going around, and it's like, you know, the over 40s at their first, over 40 rock musicians playing their first gig with their new band, and it's got like the Marshall stack, and it's like 3 gigs, it's starting to fade a little bit. You can see something's coming underneath. 7 gigs, the amp's almost faded out, and you got one of those like like Helix units, and then 9 gigs, it's just the Helix unit. It's just like yeah.
That shit was easy in my 20s, no problem. Now I've got to help unload normally at ramp it down. Oh, dude.
And the problem is you can't do that with PA systems.
No, well,
You
the
can't
PA,
shrink that.
yeah, you
You
can.
speaker has to be somewhere.
Yeah, no, the ramp it down setup is a fully brought in and pulled out PA system.
Until we've all got Neuralink chips in our heads and they can transmit it directly into our brains, there's still going to have to be PA speakers.
Could you imagine that? Every show would be a silent disco.
There'd be no more noise complaints. No venues
Oh, there
getting
would
shut
have
down.
been. But you know what the
But-
weirdest part is? Have you ever stood next to a silent disco? So I was at Big Day Out one year, and they had silent disco there, and we were in this spot that was like directly right next to it, and you can't hear anything, but then all you hear is a crowd of about 150, 200 people just go, ooh, ooh. And you're like, what the fuck's going on here? And then 5 seconds later, the next part will drop in. It's like, ooh, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? You poke your head around, and there's just a bunch of people in headphones dancing. You're like, this looks really fucking odd. It's like a movie with no sound.
Mm.
Yeah.
What is it?
yeah.
Those have you seen those film clips without music videos on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
There's one of
Sound
like
synchronized rustling clothes.
yes, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's hilarious. Some of them great. Well, one of the best ones I've seen is
The Billie Eilish one.
The best one I've seen, I think, was Firestarter by Prodigy. And he's doing it, and he's like, so he's doing his dancing, and it's like the sound of his shoes scraping on the ground, and like his clothes jingling, and it's the
I saw one where it was a hardcore band, and they were doing you know how they do the running thing on the spot, and then the crab. It's just same thing.
Squeaking shoes, yeah.
Because you know what? The funny thing is, that's what it sounds like when you record a video clip.
Yep. Absolutely. It's like,
yeah.
Was it Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, where he had Cannibal Corpse in the
yes,
in
the first
movie?
one, yeah.
And they had 200 Cannibal Corpse fans in there and everything, but because they're recording dialogue in the scene, they couldn't be playing the music. They couldn't play music, so they basically had to mime that they were playing, and the crowd had to mosh and rock out as if the band was playing in silence.
Wow.
While he's making his, and then they just, they added the music in post, like they added the all the sound in later with the Foley team and everything, and like that just had to have been probably for the band as well as the fans, one of the most bizarre experiences.
That would
Because
Ever.
be
doesn't he
extremely-
crowd surf in that bit too?
Yeah,
Can you imagine
Yeah.
crowd surfing in dead silent? That would be
But-
weird.
that's it. Because you got to think about it, right? Even if you are a fan of a band and you go and they're recording a film clip, right? They're still performing the song at you, or at the very
Yeah.
least playing it over the PA system, so it's all in time, right? But like having to do it in silence, it would. Oh, it'd be so weird. It'd be
Doesn't
so
he
weird.
rip off Chris Farley's nipple in that scene too?
Oh,
He rips off
maybe, I don't-
someone's
I-
nipple.
It's been so long
Have to
since
re-
Nipple
rewatch
ring.
that
It was a
character.
nipple ring. The movie's solid until the end.
But but yeah, no, like that sort of shit's crazy. Like, I imagine a silent disco would be.
It is the
Pretty
weirdest thing. It is the weirdest thing. I've been, and then I jumped in it straight after. I'm like,
No
I
way.
have to get involved.
So okay, so
Yeah.
sorry, go back. So you said the third one was going to be stairs at venues. But-
Yeah, well, we've switched to digital amps now, so I can't complain about that no more. Number 3, tough one. I guess it's now the day after gigs because now I'm over 30. You know, the body just randomly hurts, but after you perform, everything hurts. You know.
Yeah, so you
So-
got to stretch. Got to stretch. I find like if I'm at least doing like some of these, rolling the head around, stretching my shoulders out and stuff, I'm usually okay in that regard. If I don't, that's when it gets really gnarly. Like I'll have a couple of days where I'm like I can't turn my neck. I get like Batman. I get like Christian Bale in that first in Batman Begins kind of bat suit. I can't turn my head. I can't see what I'm doing. Thank fuck for reversing cameras in the car. Like,
Oh, dude. Dude, I used to hate it when I used to play a gig because I drove a forklift, so I'm driving backwards a lot. And it was day after a gig, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to hit anything.
like I hope there's no one behind
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's it. Just beep a lot. Just warn everyone. Just hang on that horn. Hang on that horn.
No matter what. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
man.
that's it. Like I just finding ways around it for now, but eventually, even then, that's not going to be enough.
Well, I've hit the point in my life now where I sneezed this morning. I blew my neck out.
Bro, I saw,
Yeah.
dude, last night at Nowhere Fest, like Deprivation are up there and Ben's jumping around like a fucking maniac as always. Like, I don't know how that guy is still able to go as hard as
dude,
he
he's
did back in the day.
Fit.
He's a freak of nature, that guy. Like,
He's a
in all the
menace,
best
but
ways. In all the-
you're a
oh,
menace in all the best ways. I love his Deprivation. You guys are animals.
yeah. No, look, all the love for those guys, but man, it's like I can't hang with Ben when it comes to partying, man. I can't. Like he's a whole other level on that shit.
Yeah, he's a beast.
He is. So, all right. Well, look. So, yeah, let's take it home then. So, obviously, like we said, you guys had that new song come out with the video there for Break the Silence. So, if people haven't checked that out, they should absolutely go and check that out now. Unfortunately, as we said, by the time this episode comes out, the gig will have already happened, unfortunately. But go and follow Vault Hill on all the socials, because that way you'll be able to keep tabs on what else they got coming up and any other cool new shit they're doing, any gigs coming up later in the year, early next year, whatever. Whenever they're coming to your town, get out and see them. Because if the fucking music that I've heard is anything to go by, the show should be killer.
Yeah, well, if you ain't moving the next day, the show should be good.
Yeah, if you don't
That's
have to
it.
move the next day. Yeah. Is there anything else you want people to know about before we sign off?
No, that's it. I mean, yeah, if you give us a follow, give us a listen, that'd be awesome. Come to a show, say hey. If you've playing a band, hit us up. We'll follow you back. Check out your stuff. We love to help grow the scene and both locally and globally. So hit us up.
Beautiful.
No.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for joining us today. Thank you to my co-host Kyle, aka the Beer Buddy. Thank you for watching. I have been Raph. We are the two dudes who talk music, and we will see you on the next one. Peace out, guys.
Peace.